What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to be getting into my January 20th NCAA Tournament Bracketology Predictions. So let's get right into another crazy 3 days of college basketball. Let's look at the bracket watch. Starting with the top overall seed, Purdue in that new spot after the Kansas loss to Kansas State. The first team out is Kentucky there, and then the last team in, Oklahoma. As we look at the bubble right now, last four byes, we have Maryland, Boise State, Memphis, and New Mexico. Last four in, we have Ohio State, West Virginia. Those two, been kind of a frustrating year for those two. And then Northwestern and Oklahoma. Ohio State's really not played well as of late. First four out, we have Kentucky, Penn State, Nevada, and Texas A&M. And then the next four out, we have UCF, Utah State, Wake Forest, and Oklahoma State trying to climb back up there. So if you look at the bracket as a whole here, starting with the playing games, we have the 16 seed new to the field with Binghamton. Ohio State dropping down to that 11 as I saw there. West Virginia kind of getting back on their feet, new to the field. Northwestern new to the field at a 12, and then TMUCC new to the field at a 16. But starting out here, let's go into these regions one by one. Starting up with the South region, obviously Purdue, the number one team now, just continuing to win. Florida Atlantic's going to be jumping up to 9. Just this team is playing really freaking good basketball right now. Really hard to beat this team. They're playing good. And then TCU is going to be dropping down to a 5. Then we have Michigan State jumping up to a 7. I thought Gonzaga was a 2 seed last time, because they lost to LMU, which was a huge upset. So I think they should be coming down there, but I guess not. Michigan State, as I said, jumping up to a 7 after beating Rutgers pretty handily. Or Arizona State's going to be dropping down to a 10, and then Iowa State playing really good basketball in the Big 12. I think they're the only undefeated team remaining in the Big 12. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but they're playing really good basketball here and are a top team. All right, down over here in the Midwest, we have Alabama, the 1 seed, playing really good. North Carolina going to be dropping down to a 9. We have Baylor jumping up to a 4. Liberty dropping down to a 13. Boise State's going to be jumping up to an 11 seed. Texas going to be dropping down to a 3. UC Riverside new to the field at a 14. And then Arizona jumping up to a 2 after that bad loss to Oregon, starting to get back to playing good basketball. In the West region, we have Houston as the 1 seed. Missouri going to be jumping up to an 8. Indiana jumping up to a 9 seed. VCU is going to be jumping up to a 12 seed. We have New Mexico jumping up to 11. And then Arkansas dropping down to a 7. East region, Kansas, as I mentioned, lost to Kansas State. And also, I think that Kansas State should be above Xavier. Xavier lost to DePaul last week, so I'm not sure about that. But I guess Joe Lunardi did not want to move up Kansas State, which is interesting. Kansas still a very good team. They nearly pulled off a huge win over Kansas State, just couldn't quite get it done. Southern U, I'm not sure who that is the 16 seed. NC State jumping up to a 5 seed. We have UConn dropping down to a 4. Just continue to struggle right now. Not really playing good. My doubts on UConn continue right now. And then the 13 seed Princeton jumping up there. Illinois going to be dropping down to a 6. We have Virginia jumping up to a 3 seed. And then, yeah, that's it. So let's get into the bracket. Starting with the first 4 games, Ohio State battles out against West Virginia. Although Ohio State is not playing very good, I do think that they're going to have enough to beat West Virginia, but that one is a good game. Binghamton, I think, can beat FDU. Oklahoma, I think, can survive against Northwestern, as well as Morgan State, I think, can beat TMUCC. All right, so let's dive into the round of 64. Starting with Purdue against Binghamton, I'm going to go with Purdue. Florida Atlantic versus Clemson, I'm going to go with a slight upset here. Florida Atlantic, very good team at the 9 seed. They are really winning. I don't know how much of a winning streak they are, but they're on a double-digit winning streak at least at this point, I think. TCU, Kent State, I think TCU can win that game. And then Marquette could handle their business against Marshall. Providence, I think, can beat Ohio State. Gonzaga, I think, can beat Seattle. Michigan State, I think, could beat Arizona State. And then Iowa State, I think, could be SIU Edwardsville. So kind of a chalk region there, besides the Florida Atlantic, 9/8, but that one doesn't really count too much. Then we have Kansas versus, I'm assuming, Southern Utah. I'm not sure, but just going to assume that. Kansas, Southern Utah, I'm going with Kansas. San Diego State versus Pittsburgh. I'm going to go with another 9/8 win here for Pittsburgh. NC State, I think, could be Oklahoma. And then UConn versus Princeton. Not a huge fan of UConn. Let's do it. Let's go through 13 of our 4 upset here. Princeton, not the biggest 13 threat, I think, but UConn's just not playing good right now. And I think that they can get upset by almost anybody right now. And I think that Princeton is the team to do it right there. And then Illinois versus Memphis. I'm going to have to go with the 11 seed Memphis beating Illinois here. Memphis, I do like this 11 seed. 6 seed Illinois, they're a good 6 seed, but I think that Memphis is going to have enough there to win that one. Then I think that Virginia can beat Colgate. St. Mary's can hold on against Wisconsin, and then Tennessee can beat Samford. All right, over here in this region, Alabama gets Morgan State. I'm going to have to go with Alabama. Creighton, I think, can beat North Carolina. Oral Roberts, I'm going to go through 12/5 upset here. I like Oral Roberts a lot. Last time I picked Miami. Miami's a really good team, but Oral Roberts, they have one of the best players in the country. A really scary team when come March. I think that they could upset Miami. And then Baylor, I think, could beat Liberty. Auburn against Boise State. I'm going to have to go with Auburn there. And then Texas, I think, could beat UC Riverside. I'm going to go with the 10/7 upset here. Charleston, really good 10 seed. I think these two matched up last time. Iowa, really good 7 seed, but I think that Charleston is a better team there, and I think that they can get the win. And then Arizona, I think, could be Eastern Washington. All right, down here, though, we have Houston versus UNC, Asheville. I'm going to go with Houston. Missouri, Indiana. I'm going to go with the 8 seed Missouri, but that's a good 8 versus 9 there. Rutgers, I think, could beat VCU. Kansas State, I think, could beat Southern Illinois. New Mexico, I'm going to have to go with Duke there. I think they're just slightly a better team. Well, not slightly, but I think that they're going to have enough to beat a team like New Mexico. Then Xavier, I think, could beat Youngstown State. Not sure if I pronounced it right. And then I'm going to go with the 10/7 upset here. Arkansas just not really playing good lately. They're just kind of an iffy team for me right now. They can be a very good team when healthy, but injuries right now are costing them, and Maryland's playing good basketball, so I'm going to go with Maryland there for the upset. And then UCLA, I think, can beat Siena. All right, so for a spot in the Sweet 16, we have Purdue against Florida Atlantic. Love Florida Atlantic, but Purdue's just the better team there. And then I'm going to go with Marquette to beat TCU. Let's do it. Let's go with a 6 seed Providence pulling off the 3 seed upset Gonzaga. I've had Gonzaga in the Final Four for a few bracketologies, but just did not look good against LMU. That was not the Gonzaga that I remember from earlier. Just couldn't find a way to win. I mean, the Gonzaga Bulldogs have been in a lot of close games lately. They've been able to find a way to win them. But in the bracket, if you're going to play a really good team like Providence, who's a really good 6 seed, I think it's going to come back to bite you. So I'm going to go with Providence to beat the Bulldogs. And then Iowa State, I think, will be able to beat Michigan State there to advance to the Sweet 16. All right, Kansas versus Pittsburgh. I'm going to have to go with Kansas there. NC State, I think, could beat Princeton. And then Virginia, I think, could beat Memphis. And then Tennessee, I think, could beat St. Mary's. All right, over here we have Alabama versus Creighton. I'm going to have to go with Alabama there. And then let's have a Cinderella story. Why not? It's bracketology. Let's have some fun. Oral Roberts beating Baylor. Now, Baylor, don't get me wrong, they're a really good team. But Oral Roberts, man, can be a scary team in the tournament. If I think that they can beat Miami, I think that they could beat Baylor too. So crazy win for Oral Roberts advancing that far to the Sweet 16. We have Texas versus Auburn here. Good matchup here, but I'm going to have to go with Texas, and then Arizona, I think, can beat Charleston, though. That's also an upset watch right there. That's actually that could be an upset, but I'm going to stay with Arizona. Sorry, guys. Houston versus Missouri. Let's do it. I'm going to go with an 8-1 upset here. Missouri's a good team. Usually we see a 1 seed fall before the Sweet 16. Now, Houston, don't get me wrong, really freaking good team, well-coached team down there. But Missouri, man, I think that Missouri can do some damage in the tournament, and I think that they can win. Risky pick, though, if this was actually the bracket, because Indiana is a really good team, so I could very much see Indiana winning that one. But Missouri, let's do some chaos, bring them to the Sweet 16. And then Rutgers versus Kansas State. I'm going to have to go with Kansas State there. Xavier against Duke. I mean, Xavier's been really good as of late just because of that one loss. I'm not going to hold that against them. I think that they can beat Duke. And then UCLA, I think, can beat Maryland. All right, so for a spot in the Elite Eight, we have Purdue versus Marquette. I'm going to have to go with Purdue. And then Providence versus Iowa State. I'm going to go with the 2-seeded Iowa State there. And then Kansas versus NC State. I'm going to have to go with Kansas. And then Virginia versus Tennessee. I'm going to go with the 3-seed over the 2-seed here. Really big fan of Tennessee, but as of late, not played as good. So I'm going to go with Virginia. He's a really good team. Over here, we have Alabama against Oral Roberts. That Cinderella story is going to come to an end there for Oral Roberts, which would be, this would be the second. Well, 2 years ago in the 2021 bracket, Oral Roberts made the Sweet 16. So second time, at least in 2 years. I'm not sure about their history, but probably not making the Sweet 16 for Oral Roberts if this happens. So big accomplishment there. And then Texas versus Arizona. Let's go with the 3-seeded Texas to pull off the upset there and advance to the Elite Eight. Kansas State, I think, can beat Missouri, and then UCLA, I think, can beat Xavier. So that's pretty straightforward there. All right, but let's go for a spot in the Final Four. We have Purdue versus Iowa State. Iowa State's playing really good basketball right now. I'm going with the 2-1 upset here. Purdue, really do think that this team is dangerous for Purdue. Obviously, they're the number 1 seed for a reason, but Iowa State is a really good team right there at 2. So let's bring them to the Final Four. And then Kansas versus Virginia. I'm going to bring Kansas into the Final Four again. 2 Big 12 teams already in this. Alabama versus Texas, though. There will be a Big 12 team go down there. I like Alabama right there. And then we have Kansas State versus UCLA. I'm going to go with the 4-seeded Kansas State advancing to the Final Four here. So we have 3 Big 12 teams. I mean, it is the best conference, in my opinion, this season. It is a really freaking good conference there in the Big 12. So let's get into it. Number 1 seed Kansas, number 2 seed Iowa State. Let's go with the 2-seeded Iowa State here to pull off the win over Kansas and advance to the Final Four. And then we have Alabama versus Kansas State. Unfortunately, I think that Kansas State's run is going to come to an end there, and I'm going to go with Alabama. And then for the championship game, Alabama versus Iowa State. Unfortunately, I think Iowa State's run is going to come to an end. Alabama just feels like the best team in the country right now, so I'm going to give them the crown. Anyway, guys, thank you all for watching this video today. Hopefully, y'all enjoyed the content. Comment down below your bracketologies. And anyway, peace